Hello everyone, welcome back. Merry Christmas for those people who are celebrating. For me, Christmas is in 2 days with my family, and today was my last day of work for a few days, so long weekend, always good. And typically you celebrate with red and green things, so I have kind of red and invisible due to my green screen colored Mountain Dew. Tonight, I thought I'd go back and take another pass at that ColorKraken project that I worked on last week. There's been a little bit of work that's happened with it so far. I got it to a point where it's pretty good for a beta, but I wanted to actually get the installation process in a better situation. And for Windows, one of the most popular package managers is Chocolatey. And though I use Chocolaty quite often to install packages, I've never actually published one. So I figured, what better time to learn? So I've got an app. I want to publish it to make it easy for other people to install. Let's play around with Chocolatey and figure out how to publish a package. So that's my game plan. We'll see how it goes. Might be quick, might be hard. So if we go here. So here is the repository for anybody interested. And let's just, I posted a screenshot with a little more color in it and a little bit longer explanation and that kind of thing. But let's take a look just real quick at the app itself. So the app itself, for those people who recall last time, there's more buttons and whatnot in here. I fixed the performance issue. It largely came down to having a bunch of expanders inside of a scroll viewer. So I switched the template out to just being group boxes instead. Performance significantly faster when loading items since it doesn't have to do a bunch of render passes. So there's that. This is all built up nice. You can see it loads my theme. I added this little button here to just automatically jump to the themes folder because I was getting annoyed having to open it every time. So there's a new fancy little button. Why did this search bar get so big? Oh, there's a, yeah, be small. Better. So there's that. I added delete functionality. I added refresh functionality that'll go out and reread all of the themes from disk, which is great. In this case, it's reselecting it just because this is my only non-custom theme. If you pick one of the built-in themes, it'll show it to you, but it disables everything out. Just because you really shouldn't be editing these. I also discovered that the built-in themes for GitKraken, those files have the read-only flag set on them. So if you accidentally try to write to one of them, which I did, you end up in a situation where you end up getting just access denied exceptions. So that's fun. So I let them be visible, but then blocked them out there, but we can toggle around. Yeah, you can see how much quicker it is to launch between these things. So let me get some stuff fired up here real quick, and we are going to go through and do this. So I just pushed out to the repository. I just pushed a new action, which is kind of a bare bones action. Hey, it worked the first time. That's a little creepy. So there's some build warnings and whatnot. That's actually a little creepy. So we've got a working GitHub action. That's kind of cool. So let's take a look at what's actually in this thing real quick. We'll just go over it. For anybody interested, you can check out my past streams for GitHub Actions. I've done quite a bit on this, showing them off on other projects. Just hunt my videos for GitHub Actions and you'll find them. But this is kind of follows a similar pattern of stuff that I like to do on my repositories. There's lots of different ways to handle it, but this is just one of my favorites. So it triggers on pushes into the main branch. It has a special thing for if there's a tag created with a V star. This is just happens to be one of the defaults on when you do a release inside of your GitHub repository. It prompts you to create a tag. So if you have that tag be V version number, I use that as effectively a trigger for kicking off extra stuff. And then it runs on pull requests as well. And then workflow dispatch just means manual. So I set my shell down to PowerShell because PowerShell all the things. Not strictly necessary if you're always running on Windows, but I tend to like this. This is kind of a base file I just tweak. And then some basic variables. These are the two that are important. This one is really largely here for automatically detecting versioning. So it will do versioning of the library based upon the the build ID, but it uses this as a base number to work with. And then this pre-release is based upon whether we came from a tag that started with V or not. So that's the trigger. If the tag starts with V and we can parse out the tag version, that's what will get you in pre-release false. Otherwise, we're always in pre-release true. So it comes down here, install .NET, .NET restore to load dependencies, build the project. In this case, pack. I don't know if this is going to be necessary, but then upload artifacts. I'm actually a little surprised that this thing looked like it uploaded an artifact, because I didn't think the project would actually pack. So, excuse me. So that's, I'm kind of curious what is actually in this artifact real quick. So let's just take a, oh, I might want to flatten that out a little bit. So this thing legitimately opens up a, huh. It does pack. I don't think it's a great experience, but it packed. Okay. The pack step is likely to be thrown away here in a minute in favor of building out a Chocolatey package instead. So, like I said, I've never done this before. So I've got, for those people who are interested in, I think this is the right docs page for what I'm doing. I kind of briefly scanned it before going live, and I think this is where I want to be. So I've done very little ahead of time. The only thing I've done up front is I grabbed my API key and set that up. So I've made an account, got the API key. So I got that all situated, so should be able to push. And then now the question is, what all do I need to do here? So, and I'm pretty sure we meet all the rules. Basically, don't release bad stuff and only release stuff that you own. So, we're good on all fronts. UTF-8 on everything. Bomb is optional. Great. Don't use the default Windows editor. Yeah, so we will not do that. That would be bad. Let's see. The main release of products are usually sufficient, but if there are beta versions available and you would rather have that, please create both the official release and the beta, and set the beta as a pre-release when publishing the item. Okay, so there is some sort of pre-release flag. Okay, so it works just like NuGet.org, same package ID, just different versions. Great. Okay, 3 main elements to a Chocolatey package. Only the new spec is required. So new spec, Chocolatey install PS1, any application files to include. Okay, that should be pretty simple. We can get all of these things. Video showing the creation of package. So it says this is optional. But that looks pretty required to me. Interesting. Install Chocolatey package, blah, 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 blah. So, but mine's just in XC. Let's keep going. This might be easier than expected. Okay. Okay, so there's effectively scripting hooks. Great. Uses the same infrastructure as NuGet. Great. Because I'm kind of hoping to be able to use just .NET Pack to build this rather than building a new spec directly. Version license and dependency information. Choco new test package. Okay, so let's do this. So, terminal, where are you? There you are. So let me just get myself into a good happy place. Okay, so we've got terminal here. So Choco new ColorKraken. The location for the template already exists. You can... Oh, so it's going to actually create one in here. Let's go with mkdir Choco. Let's do this. Okay, I don't know if that's going to be the end result of where we do this, but okay, cool. So and then that created a bunch of stuff. Let's see. Yes, I trust the authors. Okay, let's fire this up and let's take a look. So there's a to-do.txt. Community repository. That's where I was planning on going. Have distribution rights. The total NuGet package size will be under 200 meg. I would hope so. You have the option to embed the binaries directly into the package to provide the most reliable install experience. I think we should be well under 200 meg. Let's just double check. I can't imagine it's... Oh yeah. Well, the one from before is 42K. So yeah, we're a little under that. Perfect. Put the binaries directly into the tools folder. Use file location and install in the fill out the license and verification file. See 3 below. Okay. So let's see. Delete above this line and this line. From insert application license URL here. Okay, so that we can get. That should be back over here on my repo. Because it should... Oh, does this not have a license file generated? Well, that's dumb of me. Oh, I typically just do like MIT on the license. Right? So we'll just do... Yeah, so raw... Copy. Normally I do this at repo creation, so add file, create new file, license, boom. Choose the license template, MIT. Great. Review and submit. Commit directly to master. Okay. Now we got a license URL. Boom. Okay. That should be easy to fill out. Where did code go? Let's see. We come back here from insert application license URL here. License. And then license, insert license here. So this should just be MIT, I believe. Change that to Boston. Okay. So, that should be easy. Okay. Verification. Delete above this line and this line. Include this file if including binaries you have the right to distribute. Otherwise, delete this file. If you are the software author, you can change this to mention that you are the author of the file. Verification. How to verify checksum contents. Okay, so we're going to come back to this. I assume this will be a little more spelled out. Okay. Let's see. Chocolaty install. Boom, boom, boom. Close, close. Close. I don't want to think about you. This is really a bunch of This feels like a lot more than what I actually care about. I just kind of want to not do this. Unzip location, tools dir, package name, environment. Okay, is there? I feel like this is, I'm making this harder than it needs to be. How do I get files into here? Version. Okay, so here's where the new spec comes from. Replace authors of software separated. Typically would do this. Actually, let's go with that. Project URL, software location, remove or fill out. Well, that's easy. We've got a repo. We can put that in. So boom. Use let's see, there are a number of CDN package icon guidelines. I mean, I do have an icon I generated for it. So what? Let's take a look at this. How does one deal with this? Package icon. Use static CDNs. Avoid using GitHub raw links. They're not intended to be used as a CDN. Blah blah blah. Use the software's icon if one available. Do not use distorted. PGN is the preferred format. I can rasterize it wherever we want since I generate them. Good source. Okay, we might come back to the icon in a minute. What was this? Didn't explain the. There was that. I am not familiar with this. Huh. What is this? Is this some like mirror to GitHub that hosts it up like a CDN? I am not familiar with this. So it's raw files directly from 0 to 6 with proper content type headers. Oh, interesting. Content type. For static file hosting, minimal load is the caching layer and service minimal load is placed on each service. You get quick and easy. Blah blah blah. Well, this is very, very convenient. Okay, I have not seen this before. Because typically on GitHub, you like it said in the description, they don't want you using GitHub as a CDN, a content delivery. It's not meant to host static files. I need guaranteed 100% uptime. No, if I want 100% uptime, I'll host my stuff like an S3 bucket or on Azure. Can I somehow purge cached URLs? And just up to 30. One request. User branch file. Okay, so this is kind of cool. So, okay, so I'm gonna pin this guy because we'll circle back to this at some point because I have it in an icon format, not in a space separated. So we'll put GitKraken on there. Let's see. Desktop application for editing ColorKraken theme files. Boom. Let's see. Description. Replace Markdown. I might just steal from the README that I wrote and see if there's anything there worth using. I'm just gonna, boom, do that. Oh, it actually says Markdown supported. Meh. Yeah, we'll go with that for now. Okay. Dependencies. Now, I think we actually are going to want a dependency, because I think what we want to do is take a dependency on the .NET 6 desktop runtime. So if somebody doesn't have that installed, Chocolaty takes care of installing it for us. And there is a Chocolaty package for that already. So I think we will... I think we are going to... I'm going to leave this commenting chunk here. But we're going to do this. And let's go here. So chocolist.net. And there's... Okay, so .NET Core, blah, 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 blah. I think it's near the top. .NET, no. .NET Core, see, it's something like this, only I think it's like .NET 6. .NET 6 Desktop Runtime. This is what I want. So that's my ID. And then minimum version, I think I want 6.0.1. And we're gonna I'm just gonna get rid of all that. Okay, so I think that's the only dependency we need, because we do need to make sure the desktop runtime is there. This section controls what actually gets packed into the Chocolaty package. This be where the magic goes. Okay, so if I run a .NET publish and write it into the right directory, this guy magically picks everything up and everyone's happy. Okay. Automatic package update, shim generation, but don't call. Will automatically be included in the path, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I think... I think I just don't want any of these. If this is an exe, change the file type, silent args, and valid exit codes. Uninstaller should be able to detect. Copy and paste the next 2 lines into PowerShell. Remove all comments from the file. Blah. Let's see. See, because I don't have an installer and I just have... This is uninstall. Okay. C to do to generate top level. Then it generate the top level, read through that. Follow the documentation below to learn how to create a package. Okay, so we should be here. Put the binaries directly into the tools folder. Use $ file location and install Chocolatey install package. I don't understand what this means. Binaries directly in the tool file. have the option to embed the drivers to provide the most reliable install experience. Period. Put the binaries directly into the tools folder. Okay, I see the tools folder. I can do a .NET publish and get them in there. That's easy. Use file location. File 64, and install Chocolatey package. Get Chocolatey unzip in tools Chocolatey. Additional, fill out the license. See 3 below and those files for specifics. Blah. Determine package type. Installer package. Config. Secondary step. Portable package. Cannot require. I think this is what I want. Contains runtime binaries or unpacks them as a zip package. I think this is it. Everything in template is geared towards this type of package. I realize that, but I don't have an installer. Okay, so let's keep going. Chocolatey before modified. Remove if you have no process or services to shut down before upgrade. So before modify, we can delete because we do not have. Okay, so we have nothing to do there, so we get rid of that. Okay, tools license txt and tools verification txt. Remove if you are not embedding binaries. We are embedding binaries, so we're going to keep. And pushing the community even if you are the author of the software. This file becomes easier to fill out, does not require changes each version if you are the software vendor. If you are building packages for internal use, no, you don't need these files as you are not subject to distribution rights internally. And you have nothing additional to do during uninstall. I think we can get rid of that because I would hope it can auto uninstall. Readme txt. Delete this file once you have read over and used anything you've needed from here. Readme markdown, maybe? If you have a self-contained package, you can remove. Okay. And just include the executables, but they'll automatically get shimmed, which pushed them in the past. Ensure you have the legal right to distribute the application, though. I believe I do. I am the owner. Okay. So that would mean I don't need the install script either. I just need to get everything into the tools directory. Automation scripts. Blah, blah, blah. We do not care. Note about a couple built-in functions, don't care. We're not going to use the scripts, we don't need anything fancy. Getting package-specific information, need to mount an ISO, no. Environment variables, don't need any. Add environment variables, don't need any. Set by options and configurations. Okay, don't care. None of those should be relevant. I mean, we're a WPF app compiled any CPU, so none of this should really. Because we shouldn't need admin permissions. We're editing something in the local user directory. Not useful or anti-pattern if used. Well, let's just skip over those. Okay, so I think. I'm assuming this is meaning readme.markdown, not text. I assume, but we'll confirm. Let's see, new spec. Fill this out and then clean out all the comments. You may wish to leave the headers for the package versus the software data. Oops. Was I supposed to leave that there? Instructions in the next section. I don't think I need it. For embedded binaries. Oops. I think I need that file back. 1 second. I gotta find my recycle bin now. Let's see. Restore. Boom. Okay. Okay, so For embedded binaries, use $ file location and install Chocolatey package. Others need... See, I don't think we need it, actually. Test the package to ensure uninstall work property. There's a test environment you can use for this. Oh, that is wonderful. So, okay. Yeah, so we will... I'm going to pin that guy. We'll come back to that in a minute. Learn about Chocolatey packaging, blah, 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 blah. Delete this file. Okay, so... I'm not going to delete this file, but I'm going to move it. So let's see. That is a copy of it, yeah. I'm going to move you as well. Okay, and then I'm going to delete both of you. I got a backup of both of you. Then we're going to get rid of you too. As soon as I find the delete button. Okay, to verify the checksum content. Checksum verifications are optional. Okay. Delete above this line. If including binaries, you have the right to distribute. Otherwise, delete this file. If you are the software author, you can change this to mention that you are the author of this file. I am the software author. Okay. Okay. I think we can get like that. Seems like the simplest use case. Okay, so now we just need to version. We're gonna go with 1.0.0. It didn't tell me. There was something about a beta thingy or similar, but yeah, we won't worry about that. Okay, so I need to get the binaries into this tools directory. So if I go back up to here, so this is going to be the root of my repository. So .NET publish output Choco ColorKraken tools, and publish doesn't not have an H there. Okay, so if that, I think this just works. We'll know in a second. Could not copy because the file's in use. I should close the app. Let's just clear that. Try it one more time. Should not have had the file open. Possible no reference return. Yada yada yada. So if I go here, I now have all this stuff. Boom. Okay. I think it's that easy. I think it is that easy. Okay, so given that, back to the Chocolatey things. So new package. Install only on some versions of Windows. Install pass. Don't care. Make it clear in the package description. Windows environment variables. Upgrading, uninstalling. Naming your package. Application. Follow the official spelling. Use upper and lowercase. Don't forget spaces. The title of your package. Oh, I think I lowercased it. Let's fix that. The package ID needs to be. So the package title Why do I feel like I have made a grave error? I think that's fine. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so that so that's for the title. Got it. For the ID, use only lowercase, and then we don't have anything fancy, so the ID just needs to be lowercase. Boom, done. So don't insert line breaks in the middle of sentences. Remember to add empty lines to separate paragraphs, an empty line before a list. Versioning recommendations. Okay. This is basically semver. Okay. Okay. Zero, then 1. 0 for no fix. Date package fixed notation is recommended because one can ascertain what it is immediately upon seeing it, where sequential is not of its own site, whether it's part of the software versioning or something special in the package. Got it. Package icon guidelines, we kind of went through that one. So we do not want to exclude them because the only XCs that should have shown up in here are the one we actually want to run. So that's fine. How do I set up shims for applications that have a GUI? A hanging window when you open an application from the command line that was set up. The GUI application, so the window will call. Okay, so if you don't want to see a hanging window when you open an application from the command line that was set up with Chocolatey, you want to create a file next to the executable that is named exactly the same, with GUI suffixed on the end. In the case of Bob.exe, you would create a file, and that file would be set up as a GUI application, so the window will call it, and then move on without waiting for it to finish. I'm trying to decide if this is supposed to be an empty file, or if this is also supposed to be basically the same exe, only as a GUI. It's got to be an empty file. It wouldn't make sense otherwise. Okay. So that one would be a nice file that we would end up checking into the repo if it's just going to be a 0-byte file. So we will do new file. ColorKraken.exe.GUI. Okay, so that goes there. Okay, and apparently that's the trigger for it. Build your package. Choco pack. Okay. So cd choco pack. No new spec files. Oh, do I have to actually be inside of choco pack? Okay, that was easy. Testing your package can be done in the same way as the verifier, blah, blah, blah. to test the package you just built, open a command line shell, navigate to the directory where the NuGet package file is located, which I assume is right alongside where I'm currently at. Yep. Great. And then I should be able to do... Oh, actually, I think this has to be from a... If I'm running Choco install, I think I got to do it from an admin prompt. 1 second. So we're gonna just do this. Okay. So Choco, where did it go? Am I covering it? Choco install ColorKraken dvds load from current directory. Install of ColorKraken was not successful. Well, that doesn't seem very good. Okay. Unable to resolve dependency. .NET 6.0 desktop runtime. Ow. Is it? Ow. Huh? Let's see. Let's read a little bit more. When your new spec specifies dependencies that are not in your source, you should add their path to the source directory. So got it. So -s is setting a source up. Ah, got it. So I need to set it up with two. Okay, so it's trying to load from the local directory as the source, but the source only has my package, not the .NET runtime, so it no worky. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, so something like that should now resolve. So what did I just do? So oh, I did -s and -source. Let's get rid of -s. Sure, let it go. It's doing something. I'm liking it. This is probably because it's installed. Chocolaty doesn't know that I already have the runtime installed. I'm trying to decide if it's worth making sure that the runtime is installed or not. It's probably good. I'm just thinking that the target audience is people who are running GitKraken. I shouldn't assume that everybody's a .NET person and has it installed. Yeah, because this is all the .NET 6 runtime stuff that's taking a while. Okay, install of ColorKraken was successful. So now, if I come over here and I type in ColorKraken, it thinks, oh, booyah! Okay. Okay, so step one, if you just have the binaries, it's easy. Okay, so that seems to work. Sweet. Okay. Choco install. Build the NuGet and attempt to install it. This is not recommended. Blah blah blah. Push your package. Okay, so where package name is. So I'm torn here. do I push the package now? I kind of think I don't want to. And I only say that because I think I'd like to set this up to run. Set this up to run from a GitHub action. Go for gold. I think we go for gold. I think this seems pretty straightforward. So let's tweak some stuff here. Okay, so we've got all of this. Okay, so first, so infinite recursion. So hold on, let's pull up, get the latest and greatest. Okay, let's see what we're checking in here real quick. So the question though is, I would love, does Choco pack let me pass a version to it? Because that'd be oh, look at that version you would like to insert into the package. Okay, perfect, because I want to pass version on the GitHub action. Okay, so that's cool. I don't want all of these files in here. I just want these. I just want the new spec. I just want the license. Oh, I need to delete above this line and this line. Where's edit? Edit. So I would like to delete this. Save. Stage. Okay, so here. I think we set up everything appropriately there. Verification. Okay, adding files for Chocolatey distribution. Commit. Okay, so there's all of those. Now, next thing I'd like to do, solution items. I would like to add existing item. And we're going to just bring in this guy. Okay, so this should be a... We're going to add in a test at some point. And rather than... I mean, let's look real quick. Let's see. I want to keep you. By keep, I clearly mean get rid of. Let's see. Get started. Install Chocolatey. I kind of just want to the Chocolatey CLI without actually installing Chocolatey, because I just want to run Choco Pack. I don't really... Hang on, there was a Chocolatey CLI. Let's just look at this. Is set up and install. Is there like a... Install additional considerations, because I kind of just want to... Why isn't there an MSI? I kind of just want to install with Puppet, install using NuGet Package Manager. Non-administrative install. Ooh. Okay. Note this option should be a last resort, especially surrounding software management, so you're going to be limited even in packages you attempt to install, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of think this is a lot of effort. Hang on. I'm pretty sure there's a... Oh. Hang on. I know I've used Chocolaty before, and I used it on my XAMLTest library. There is an action already built that does Chocolaty stuff. Install. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, did I stop using it? Oh, I obsoleted it, didn't I? GitHub Actions Marketplace. Let's just go look. I am not the first one. I am not the first one to want to use Chocolaty. Okay. If you are interested, blah, blah. With args. Just make sure I'm not missing something obvious. Just out of curiosity. I was gonna say, it'd be cool if Chocolaty used GitHub Actions, and then I could just look at what they were doing. How to publish Winget and Chocolaty with GitHub Actions. Boy, that sounds... Boom, boom, boom. YAML. Repository dispatch. Okay. That goes there. The Chocolaty workflow. I'm more interested in how you run the Chocolaty commands. How do you run Choco? Push package to Chocolaty. Working directory, environment name. This is running push package, but how did you install AU? I don't understand what AU is. Then add a workflow creating the pushing the latest tools. To download and build the version supplied. It then updates the new spec. As you can see above, the Chocolaty automatic updater module makes it really easy to test the newly created package. I would like to know what this is and how I get this. I mean, I kind of already know how to get this, because this thing kind of showed me. C install AU, which would be pretty cool. Chocolaty automatic. Hold on. Is Chocolaty already installed on the... I wonder. GitHub Agents default software. I'm wondering if Chocolaty is just automatically already on the runner. Supported software. Pre-installed software. Let's see, we're going to be on Windows latest. Problem solved. Problem solved. Chocolaty is already on the system. So this problem just became even easier. We don't need to think. We can just pretend like Choco's already there. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we're going to turn off this because I want it to always pack. So Choco pack, but I want to do what is the working dir? I don't have that set here because I want to do something like working directory. Thank you. Let's see, it's gonna be Choco ColorKraken. Okay, so that goes like that. We're on Windows. We know we're going to be on Windows, right? We did set Windows. Good. Good, good, good. Okay, so we need to be down in this one because we basically want to run the exact command we ran before. We do want to do a Choco pack. We want to pass, let's see, -- version. And we want this guy here to be passed in for the version. Boom. Let's see, build, we don't actually want that. I want NuGet version, don't I? Yes. Yeah, because build version's there. NuGet version doesn't have the last digit, so we want to turn that off. And technically what we want here is actually a name publish. So we'll get to filling that one out here in just a second. Because we're not going to have version. We don't need this. These things are going to go up here though. I think it's that easy. Does Choco pack oh, sweet. It does have a out. Specifies the directory for the created Chocolatey package files. Okay. I think I do want to do out. And I think I want to do the workspace there. Just so it goes up to the root of the repo, and that makes it easy to hunt stuff. Actually, let's just put it right in Choco. That's probably just as good. So, effectively up one directory. We'll go with it. Okay, so that goes there. That goes like that. We do need to do a .NET publish. So we do need to do .NET publish. We're going to do a no build configuration. We shouldn't need to specify version at this point because we've already built the stuff. No build implies no restore. And then this, we need to specify the output directory. .NET publish. Wasn't that in here? Yeah, so it's just output. We want that there. And we're going to replace that with, I just like to fully qualify these things. Okay, so that goes into there. That goes like that. That goes like that. So this will do the publish. This will do the pack. And then we're going to always upload artifacts. And then we can just do this. Because it should... oh, I actually need to go Choco. Okay, so that should just work. We've turned off all of our if conditions. I'm gonna actually comment this one out for a minute. Put a dot there as well. Because we are going to need this if condition here in a little bit. But this should be enough to prove that it works. So let's see. So stage that. Updating GitHub action to build Chocolatey package. Okay, so we are going to commit and push that. That should kick that off. And then what I would like to do is locally Choco uninstall ColorKraken. Isn't it uninstall? What is the command? Remove. Too many options. Okay, list, fine, uninstall. Oh. Spelling. Okay, so we will uninstall the package. Because what I'd like to do is download the package again. And then run that same test command on it. And have it work. That's the goal. And then hang on one second. My dev directory. And then assuming this works and it gets published and approved, we'll just update my README to have install directions be Choco. Yeah, so we're gonna clear out that NuGet package. So all of those are gone. We're gonna download one into this directory. So let's go and make sure that all worked. That ran, and I should have a NuGet. Should probably name it something other than NuGet. Fix that in a minute. Okay, so there is that. Cool. And you can see it's got a CI thingy on there. Let's figure out what to do about that. That's a problem for a different day at the moment. Okay, so into our Choco folder, paste. Okay, so if I just to be clear, right now if I run ColorKraken, I should get nothing. Great. Now I come over here and I run, because I'm inside of my Choco directory where I just downloaded this guy, the one that was built by my GitHub action. So I test running it. Let's see, the package not found within source. If the package version is a pre-release and you didn't specify pre, oh, so I probably have to do pre. Ah, okay. Perfect. Okay, so I feel like I want to document that command somewhere. This needs to end up in a README or something. Here, add existing item, README. Testing. You can download the NuGet package that would be to Chocolaty, and test it locally, because it takes a dependency on the at6 desktop runtime. Okay, this is getting annoying to me. Word wrap. Boom, on. You will need to following command from the directory where the downloaded NUPKG is located. If it is a release package, you will also need to specify. Boom. Okay, so that can go like that. That'll be updated. Okay, so it did install, and now we come over here, and I go. Boom! I love it. I love it. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna go with Choco uninstall. You cannot uninstall the app while it's running. Okay, just make sure it is in fact dead. I don't know what it. Okay, cool. So it took care of everything. Sweet, 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 sweet. Okay, so there's all of that. That makes me happy. Okay, so let's go back in here, and we need to do a couple things. So, Chocolatey nougat. We're gonna give it a better name than what it was. Upload Choco package. We will do that. And then, oh, I want to keep this around for this. So name, push Choco package. Now this one we definitely want an if condition on. This is something we want to be a little more tentative with. And actually, I think the material design project has a pretty good example of this. I believe we handled this one all the way through here. Workflows, release, push artifacts. Let's see. So I gotta remember where I put everything. Push artifacts. This always pushes out, so that's not quite what we want. I thought I had a better example of limiting that. I guess I didn't. Okay, I thought I had a better sample of that. Let's go back to XAMLTest and take a look at what I did there. XAMLTest. Just take a look at this, because this is the one that we pulled from. So this one, oh, because it always pushes. Why did I make this pre-release flag here? So let's we're gonna gamble on this real quick. So I think what we're gonna do is we are going to just not provide the secret so that even if it does try to push, it fails. That way we can test this a little bit. Because I kind of want to test the if condition on pre-release. Because I kind of want to do something like env.pre-release kind of want to do something like that. Okay, so then the last step we didn't ever do from the tutorial was the Choco Push, this guy. We want to set that as our push location. So we want to come over here. Where am I at? There. I want to run that. And then we want to... I wonder if it's hip to wildcards. We'll know in a minute. And then the source location is going to be chocolatey.org. And then normally you have to have an API key for that. That will be a secret that will get put into the repository. And I'm going to be careful to not screw up and show my API key. Choco API key. I'm going to run this command off screen just because I don't know what it's going to do. Okay. So it has my API key. But if I do Choco Push, I believe there's an option here for, yeah, API key. Boom. So we're going to go with key, and we're going to secrets Choco API key. We're going to do something like that. And yeah, whatever. We're going to leave it like that for now. Trying to think. There was... Hang on. There was one thing that I got bit by, and I don't think it's going to bite me here nearly as bad. But on the material design project, I ran into an issue when I first did GitHub Actions, is I didn't appropriately filter, and forks. Yeah, we want to do this. And forks were triggering, and I don't want that. So, sorry, where was that at on the job itself? We're gonna, if somebody wants to change this, they can, but by default, let's just, if somebody forks, let's just not work. I think that's a lot safer. So if you aren't me, you got to comment a line out if you want this action to run for you. Seems reasonable. Primary fork gets to win. And if you don't like it, fork it and change it. Okay, so we'll need to add an API key. This will go here, but I want to test this condition. Okay, so this should be good enough, I think. Okay, so let's see. Updating testing docs, adding step to publish. Okay, so this should go, and I want this thing to build and run. Come back over here. So I want to see this thing work, and that last step should not trigger. Should not trigger. And then what we'll do is we'll push a tag, and it should trigger. And then more importantly, if I've got my Chocolatey commands correct, I would expect that by not passing an API key, because I haven't set that up yet, it should just reject by publish. Straight up. That's what I would hope. So I can validate. So as long as I get some sort of like authentication failure from Chocolatey, we'll assume that the rest of the command is fine. I mean, at least the CLI syntax has to be fine at that point. I wonder, do I still have that build agents bits? GitHub Actions, hosted runner. The pre-installed stuff. I'm interested if I actually need to install .NET 6 for this or not. Put it software, latest server. Do you come with .NET 6? .NET SDK. So I don't even need the... Okay, so I can even whack the installing of the .NET 6 SDK. I'm going to just comment it out for now. But that should be completely unnecessary. Well, I'm going to make all these things start with Choco, just so that there's a nice clear Choco-y stuff. Okay, so this thing ran, and then the if condition did not trigger, which is correct. That's what we expect. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to create a tag, v1.1. Or how about 1.0 .0. So if I do that, tag created, collapse. If I push this tag, that should trigger that workflow again, because it's got a trigger on tags. But this time, it should read that version number. I'm realizing I left it defaulted to 1.0. I'll have to check the value. But it should read that. Appropriately set the version. So you'll note pre-release before set version was true, afterwards is false. And build version... Why does build version have a 1 in it, a dot at the beginning of it? Seems like a bug. What did I do wrong here? Build version, tag version. Oh, did I do a tag of v dot? Ah. So... be surprised if the pack succeeds. Here, let's... I think the .NET pack is probably going to fail with the version number being wrong. Yeah. So let's push this. Moving net 6 from install. We'll comment on the other bits. So we'll push that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to delete off of origin. Delete from origin. Then we're going to delete locally. And then we're going to create a new tag. v1.0.0. Okay. Then we will push. And I should see 2 running actions. One triggered from the push into master and one from triggering off here. It should go fairly quickly. Oh, it failed. And actually, I'm realizing wait, installed. Oh, it is required. It fell back to 5.0. So, okay. Oh, am I not on? Oh, I bet you the default server. What is Windows latest set to? Yeah, Windows latest is using 2019. So we're just gonna let's go for it. Let's go for it. We're gonna go there. That should get that up. Okay. Is there something else I saw that needed to be addressed there? No, that should be fine because they both should fail. Oh, I wanted to do the if conditions on these because we don't need any of these steps for pull requests. So what I would like to do is, I think I actually have it in, yeah, I want this if condition back. Specifically, I don't want to do publishing or like, I don't want to, if somebody opens a pull request against the repo, I don't want to waste my time doing this. And this would be kind of like, I could do an and condition here, but it's not really necessary. And actually we can save ourselves some trouble here and only run this. Only run this if necessary. This will ensure that pull requests never get anything, so. That'll be a little cleaner. Okay, so let's see, using Windows 2022 to get 6 SDK, moving steps that don't need to run on PR. Cool. And push. And then what we can do is we can delete, and we can create tag b1.0.0. It's worth noting, in general, you shouldn't delete tags. Generally, you don't move tags around like this. They're designed to be point in time, but in this case, I'm just testing. Okay, so same situation. Oh, do I not? Huh. I apparently never saved the solution after I added those extra files. We'll get that on the next commit. Okay, so back to GitHub Actions. And I'm mostly interested in this one. So I'll be curious. Show me .NET 6 SDK. Cool. Sweet. So build, it published, Choco Pack, Choco Package. Hang on. We skipped something here. Let's see. I'm happy for you, but why didn't you try to push? This was the one that triggered on the tag, right? Yeah, so why did you not try to push? Like that. I'm wondering if that's the case. Okay. Check with string. Let's see, do that. Push. Let's see. Delete origin. Delete. Delete locally. I wonder, actually, can I just like move you? Is that not a thing? Okay. Not exactly surprised. Yeah, I'm not really surprised that there's not a way to just like drag, drop, and move a tag around, because that would be kind of a weird feature. Let's see. Create tag. 1.0.0. Okay. And then push it. So it's worth noting, there are GitHub, you can trigger on the presence of creating a release in GitHub Actions versus a tag, rather than me where I am triggering on a tag, which is arguably a side effect of doing a release. The one thing that I don't like about that though is testing with tags gives me a little bit more freedom, because now I can just manipulate Git stuff. So I tend to like it better than triggering on that. But personal preference. Personal preference. Okay, so now we got an error. Okay, so it did trigger, so it at least ran the stage. That makes me feel better. Let's see. Choco Push. But it's not... Oh, so I can just do Choco Push. In the folder, the command will require specifying the path to the file. Oh. Oh. Oh, that's easier then. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna go like right where we were. And then we're gonna just drop this off, because there should only be one thing in that directory. Okay. Right. With local directory package. Push, and I think we're close. I think one more round of tag pushing. If I was smart, I would have scripted the creation of this tag. Or I should say the recreation of it. And then push. Okay. That is probably going to be the last one we do before I go and put the key in. I think. See what happens. See what happens. And with any luck, at the end of this, we have a GitHub action that can do Chocolaty packages. I actually have this wish list idea of a small SaaS I'd like to build around doing distribution of apps, because in my opinion, the ecosystem for doing app distributions is horrible. There's things like Chocolaty, which are great if your target... Chocolaty is great if your target audience is developers. And I'm targeting people that use GitKraken, which means, like, not everybody who uses GitKraken is a developer, but a good portion of them are reasonably competent. If you're doing source control, you probably have a little bit more, I'll say, savvy about it. Well, I guess it was expected to fail. Push command. Okay, this looks like what I would expect. Oh, it's probably squawking because of the key specifier that's empty, which is why it doesn't know how to parse it. Okay. Okay, I think what we're going to do, I think we're going to go for it. Let's go for it. So let's see. So we go settings, we go secrets, repo secrets, and I got to remember what I called it. Choco API key. We go paste, and we go. Hold on 1 second, because I'm not going to show this part on stream. We go copy, we go paste. Let's see, add secret. We reload pages to make sure the secrets are hidden. Okay. So for those people unfamiliar, settings, secrets, new repository secret. Your name must match what you used in your YAML. Value goes here. Okay, so that handles that. And then I think what we do is we just delete the tag from origin. And then we push it. And that should kick off another action. Which, with any luck, we submit it to Chocolaty. And then I assume it being a new publisher, I probably get held for review or similar. That would be wise on their part to at least review people, especially new ones. So I won't be surprised if this thing isn't available right away. That's not going to shock me. That would actually be prudent on their part. So we will assume that it's not going to be live right away. Go! It works! Look at that. Attempting to push was pushed successfully. Your package may be subject to moderation. A moderator will review your package prior to acceptance. You should receive an email. If I don't hear back within 1 to 3 business days. Okay, doing this the day before Christmas Eve. I think I can assume I'm not hearing back for like 5 days plus. Moderators, I understand. Enjoy your holiday. I am not that important. Okay, so, but if I would expect that even if it doesn't show up there, that I should be able to hit like manage packages and see my package. You have these packages are currently unlisted. Oh, the one thing we didn't do is the icon. We'll get around to that in a minute. All checks are pending. Validation test pending. Scan test pending. Cool. I'm curious, can I hit this site from without being logged in, or is unlisted mean welcome to Chocolatey, blah blah blah. With a 30-minute timeout. Okay, so this works. I'm kind of wondering if I can go here, find packages. I assume it's not going to show up. That would be, yeah, that would be shocking me. But if I know the name of it, can I do... Look at that. Got it. Okay. Cool. Cool. Sweet. Sweet, 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 sweet. Okay, so let's update the README. Nice. 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 Let's see. Okay, so I don't have any local pendants, do I? No. Good. Let's see. README and something about edit. Okay, so you can download pre-compiled versions of the application from the latest release. Alternatively, you can install using Chocolaty. We're gonna just hyperlink that guy to the Chocolaty package, and then that link there should take me to this, and then we're gonna go like that. Let's just hit preview real quick. Let's put one more space here so that it wraps that down. And actually, let's do this. Something more like that. Let's call it local testing. Cool. Okay. This should probably move off into some other page at some point, but eh. Updating with info about Choco install. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Trying to decide where to go next. You know, something I ran into recently, and maybe we'll just, okay. So I'm going to let this sit for a little bit because, frankly, I can't do anything about this. This is requiring review and all that jazz. So this is going to take some time, and I assume that there's going to be automated review and manual review and yada, yada, yada. So that'll be great. I assume it'll get published at some point. So it would be great also at some point. I'd love to put like some sort of theme gallery. There's been a couple people that have tried to do something similar. But it'd be nice if there was some centralized repository for those. Yeah, anyway. We may circle back to that. It'd be cool if I set one up, I don't want it to be tied to the WPF app though. I'd want it to be a public API that somebody could put, you know, any front end on that they want. So, maybe we build that. If you're interested, let me know. Okay, so there was a couple things I ran into with my XAMLTest library, and I was thinking I might want to use XAMLTest on this thing as a simple demo of using it. But I ran into some problems. Do I not even have it? Well then, let's back that sucker up. XAMLTest. Let me go here. Probably don't have it. Open a repo, dev, XAMLTest, boom. So I want to take a look because there was a couple issues that I logged. Let's see, what's going on here? Contents are unchanged, contents are unchanged. Don't know why I have this then, reset. Pull master. And then I'd like to get a, there's a few issues on this repo that I'd like to kind of wrap up real quick. So this one should be there's a couple just API ones. So I want to allow offsets to click methods, and I want to allow suffixes on the test recorder constructor. So specifically, well, here, let's get into the project and I'll demonstrate. So typically what will happen with the test recorder is at the beginning of a test, you'll instantiate one. And then at the very end of a test, you will put something like test recorder success to indicate that you got all the way down to the success line. What this ends up meaning is because this has a using statement, when this thing is disposed, if it has not hit a success call, what it does is it grabs a screenshot, which is great because it means that all of your assert calls on all the popular testing libraries, what those assert calls do is they throw an exception if their assertions aren't met, which is great because they throw an exception, you never get to your success call, and therefore it grabs a screenshot of your app. Perfect, which is what we want. The problem being is if you have a data-driven test, I want to be able to be data-driven, meaning your test takes in parameters. I don't know if I have any. Let's see. Oh, this is MS test, not XUnit. MS test is what is it called? Is it inline data? No. Test row? Data row. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, I don't have any in here. If your test takes in parameters, like, you want to test various values, the problem is if all of those values fail, you only get one screenshot, which may or may not matter, but say you're passing in something like a color, that could make a big difference, and you don't want just the last one in blowing away your screenshots. So I want to have this guy's constructor have an optional suffix as well. So what do we call it down below? Because save screenshot takes in a suffix. String suffix. Yeah, because you can call save screenshot passing a suffix and it'll tack it on there, which is great, but I want to have a higher level suffix as well. So let's go with private string test suffix. Okay, and then this is going to become string suffix. And then what we're going to do is test suffix gets suffix empty string, because we don't pass anything, I don't care. And then down here, these are the, wait, there's a third invocation? Kind of wondering if this guy here should just do this. And this has win on it. I wonder why it has win. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Let's take that off. Okay, so should be simple. Let's see. Test method. Public async pass test recorder. Oh. Wait, why is this? These are just bad names. Test recorder with C-core suffix appends to all file names, something like that. Okay. This guy here, we can probably get away with something like this. Boom. Okay. Let's take a look here. So this is going to be app. Actually, we'll just go with my suffix again. This is going to be save screenshot without it specified. Actually, how about... I want to be clear that both should get specified. Got it. And so this is using get line number to count back to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 is still correct. You should drop the win off of there. Minus 10. It should be a 2. Other suffix 1, other suffix 2. So this should be my suffix, other suffix 1, other suffix 2. I believe that's how this goes. Let's see here. So let me make sure I've actually counted these correctly. So this one here should be back 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Great. This one thinks it's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, I guess that makes sense because this is also down 1 from the other line. Got it. So let's run this test and see how it comes back. We can probably add, I'm thinking I might even add a net 6 target. It's not strictly necessary, but there can be some nice performance gains. Okay, so what did I do wrong? Okay, so let's see. Sequence contains no elements. That doesn't seem right. So let's debug this. Actually, you know what? Let's run all the test recorder tests real quick. I want to verify that the other one works too. This one failed, but it failed for a different reason. This one failed because I dropped the win. Okay. This one I assume is probably the same failure. Yeah. I don't know why I put win on all of those. I assume for window, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, so that goes there. Okay, so now the only test recorder failing is my new one. So I've done something wrong. Oh. That's interesting. It's likely because these are in the same directory and I'm getting bit. Let's change this up. Because the names of these are lining up with other tests, they can collide. class cleanup. This really should be test cleanup. Clean up at the beginning of it and then clean up after the test. Okay, so try this again. Okay. Files, get file name. Oh, this is using the wrong bit here. The only drawback with this test recorder is if you terminate a test in the middle, you may not get all the way to the end. Okay, so what do we got going on here? Sequence contains more than one element. Of course it does. It should contain two. Oh, because I just asserted that, right. There's a single here, so we're going to call this files. File 1. File 2. We're going to do assert are equal to files.count. Do that, and then this should be file 1, file 2. Let's see, file 1. Get file name. That's not really relevant here. If the name of the file matches, I don't really care about the rest. The other test will validate if I get something wrong with the directory or something. That's one of the things when you're writing tests, is making sure that the test is targeted at the condition that you care about. In our case, with constructor suffix. So people have different naming schemes for how they do tests. One of the ones that I like to use and usually recommend to people, just because it helps me keep my brain in sync, is the first. So separated with 2 underscores, so there's 3 parts of the name. The first is the system under test, which is often the class name. Sometimes you can be more specific. The condition under which it is being tested, and the expectation. And then from that, the rest of the test should fall out. Okay. And I'm noticing I did not. Boom. Okay. Oh, and that's going to immediately, obviously. No. Hush now, hush now, hush now. I realize I renamed the test name. Assert are equal failed. Expected it to be suffix, so it's suffix 1, and then line number is 100. So, but was actually line 98. Why did this think it should be? Oh, because I've changed this in here, so now it's off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This should be 11, and this should probably go up to 13, I'm guessing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh no, this is also 11 because they're now the same distance apart. Got it. Okay, so that makes a little more sense. Oh, come on, what did I mess up on? So, make you bigger, I can't read that. So, expected save screenshot. Oh, I've got the... Got the wrong name of operator in there. guess wrong name of operand. Okay, still not matching. 2.99. Oh, sorry, hold on. Expected. So I expected a -2 and got a -1. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Why? I'm realizing. No, there's 2 saved screenshots, so there should be 2 in there. So it got past the first one. It's interesting that the Indra. How this just seems like a bug. So every call to save screenshot increments the same index. What? I seriously had this bug in here the whole time? Full path. This just looks like a bug. Index should not be a local variable. It's interesting that I was doing a delete on it as well to ensure that it would be a new file created. Yeah, I don't think I want that. Okay, so we're gonna do something. Private int. And actually, I think we're gonna go 0. And we're gonna go with interlocked. Increment. So for people who aren't familiar with the interlocked class, it lets you perform atomic operations. And I can't remember if this returns back the original or the incremented value. I think it's the incremented. Returns the incremented value. Perfect. So I can go ref, and it's pretty unlikely, especially in this situation, that I'm going to have 2 instances of the same test recorder. That would mean somebody instantiated a test recorder and then shared it across multiple tests or somewhere. I don't know how else you'd get in that situation. But plus plus is not an atomic operation, because plus plus in C# requires reading the current value of whatever's in the field, incrementing it by 1, and then persisting that back. That's usually at least 3 operations. Interlocked ensures that is a single operation, so there's no way for any sort of weird like cross-threading. Like if you put I++ inside of a weird parallel for each, you can get some weird counting, because if you have 2 threads going, they both read the value, say they both get back 4, they both increment the value to 5, and then they both write the value. Well, thread A writes 5, thread B writes 5, but you should have incremented twice, not once. So you can end up with cases like that bite you. So interlock ensures that doesn't happen. I think it's pretty unlikely. But apparently I've just had a bug in this thing the whole time and I didn't even notice it. Can we use volatile instead of interlocked? So Not easily per se. So volatile, let me see if I can remember this. Volatile is something that ensures a memory barrier, but I don't believe volatile makes your operations atomic. Let me double check that. Volatile is one of those C# keywords that is so seldom used. Yeah, so this sets up memory barriers around it to avoid certain optimizations. So one thing that always scares people is when I tell them that your code in C# may not execute in the same order that you wrote it. And that normally scares people because it's like, oh, my code doesn't execute in the order I wrote it. That's going to break everything. Okay. C# is not broken. Very rarely will that reordering cause any problems. It's more often used as an optimization when the JIT or the runtime can figure out, hey, it's better if I do these things in this order. Like, for example, if you're declaring a bunch of variables and doing assignments, it can go, yeah, I know the dependencies between all these things. I can see this is independent, and so it can reorder things if it sees a more optimal path. I don't know if I have ever seen a case where that reordering has ever caused any behavioral bugs or seen it. There's been one instance I can recall where it was, hey, that's weird. How come when I compile in release mode, I get this slightly different behavior when I'm stepping through with the debugger? But that was it. I don't believe there was ever, and I'm not actually even confident it was related to that. But that is, so the volatile is all around memory barriers, not necessarily, I'll say thread safety. Whereas interlocked is more often used for thread safety to avoid having to use the C# lock keyword. Because the C# lock keyword is just syntactic sugar around a class called monitor. Where it does a try enter to acquire the lock, and then it's got like this try finally set up to make sure that if it acquired the lock, it then releases the lock and all that jazz. So because that's a lot of typing in C#, you know, we do this, and please don't lock on a string like this. It's horrible. But the drawback with locks is they can be slow, and in this case, I really don't think it's likely. So I suspect I am one of the only users using this library, and it would be a coding mistake to share this instance across multiple threads. Interlock, non-blocking, and monitor is blocking. Yeah, so interlocked, because it doesn't require obtaining a lock, it's really, really fast. It also lets you do multiple operations as a single atomic operation. So what normally, so like plus that, you know, could be theoretically problematic, interlock can make sure that that is one atomic, because most architectures down at the runtime have fancy CPU instructions. So this is one of those calls that the runtime gives specialness to, and might optimize the call into something else. Because you can look at the compiled CIL, the Common Intermediate Language, but that, even though the CIL looks like assembly, it's not assembly. It's not until it goes at runtime with the just-in-time compiler does that actually get converted into, say, like x86 instructions if you're on a 32-bit machine, or ARM instructions or whatever. So that's the magic. So I'm gonna do it. In theory, a plus would be just fine, and I highly doubt it causes any bugs, but we're gonna do it just because I think it'll make me feel a little better. So fix, and then let's grab the, good question though. And thank you for coming and joining, Justin Bieber. Let's see. So we did, this is 55. Let's do fix 55. Boom, boom, boom. Stage all changes. Let's see. Adding suffix parameter to test recorder. I'm willing to bet the reason I've never caught that bug is simply because it would only show up if you took multiple screenshots in the same test. and they would have to have, and you'd have to take multiple screenshots in the same test without passing a different suffix. And even then, if you, as long as you passed, because it wasn't incrementing that value, you'd have to pass like the same suffix in both cases. Yeah, but the line numbers would be different. You'd have to call save screenshot twice on the same line, which is possible because you can just semicolon and double line it. That's a little hard to do. So unless you've written bad C#, I don't think you come across that bug. Adding suffix parameter to test recorder. Fixes pound 55, create pull request. And do I have, I thought there was a way to turn on auto GitHub, let's see, GitHub auto complete PRs. I thought there was a feature, yeah, this thing. Automatically, auto merge, so the pull request will merge automatically when requirements are met. About auto merge, enabling auto merge. So let's see. Navigate to the main page of the repository, click pull requests. Enable, optionally choose a merge method, select enable auto merge. So I am here. Oh, is it because there's no... There's nothing triggering on PR? Is that the issue? I thought I had a... Yeah, I've got a... There. Yeah, so that... There it goes. So I go to pull request page. I'm missing something. In the pull request list, click the pull request you'd like to auto merge. Merging is blocked, so this should be down here. I would love to turn this feature on. Auto merge must be enabled for the repository. So I have to go turn something on at the repository level. In public repositories free, blah blah blah. Okay, so where is the button? I would like to turn this setting on. Let's see. Features. Allow auto merge. Yes. That is something we would like. I would love to have that feature turned on. Refresh. Oh, is it only going to be for new pull requests after I've turned it on? That could be. Okay, but regardless, it's at least on now. Allow auto merge. Cool. And I'm going to, real quick, while I'm thinking about it, I'm turning that on a couple of repositories, like material design. I would like to have that button turned on. Auto merge sounds like a feature I want. So we start turning that on all my repositories. Okay, let's try this one real quick. So it would be nice after calculating position, there was an offset parameter as well. So on all my various click methods. Okay, so on visual element, sorry, 1 second. I'm gonna clicky some buttons and go and deal with. How do I? Sorry, looking for chat options for delete. There we are. Delete. Just gonna delete that out of the chat there. Okay, so let's go here, and I think it's probably going to be visual element mix in something, something, something. It's gonna be like a left click. Boom. Okay, so left up, left down. So these all exist. And I would love to have offsets. Let's see. Get cursor position, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's figure out where this comes in from. That is fine, but where is... I gotta find my tests for this. Let's start with a test. Test is good. Test is good. XAMLTest. Let's see. Send mouse input test. That sounds... can move cursor positions. Yeah, so can click through menus. What is this guy spinning up? So this is just spinning up a... Okay, let's do something similar to this. As you can see, my naming scheme for my things is falling through. Let's see. Left click, width, position, offset, offsets, person. Okay. So we are going to go here, and what I would like to do is, it's easier. Passing it through as a point, as a vector, as a tuple, or as two ints. It makes the most sense. What do I want to type here? If I wanted to offset this thing, because this thing here has this position guy. Oh, and here's where I was looking for. Send click. This guy has position. Move to element. And this is interesting because this is just event plus data, so we're gonna need to do something here. I guess the question is, how do I want to send that offset? I think we might just send it as ints to keep my life easy. But I'm wondering if it's better to have two parameters here, or if it's better to just have because I think this is really just about move to element is what needs to have the offset added to it. So int x offset gets 0, int y offset gets 0. And I think what we do, mouse input data, right? So we are going to go here. We'll look at it on the other side. But I think what we're going to do here is we're gonna go simple serialization. I'm only hesitating to do commas because of localization, and pipes are less problematic. But again, I think I'm probably one of the only users in my library. One of those. Be kind of shocked if there were other users, but not completely. Okay, so move to element, find all references. Let's see here. Calculate size. That's not it. Where is it going to be on the other side? Move to element. Mouse data. Enum triparse. So this isn't going to play nice here, but what we're going to do is we're going to do int x offset get 0, int y offset gets 0, and then this will be mouse data dot value split on pipes. It's harder to type than I'd like to admit. And actually, let's keep going on this. Let's just see, and turn off insert is parts. So for those people who haven't seen this syntax before, this is just pattern matching. The double curly braces is a not null check. So this says split it into array. If the array is not null, assign it into the variable parts and return true for the expression. So it's doing a lot. And split is guaranteed to return a non-null string, so this is kind of superfluous just to get it into here. But the only reason I want to do this is because then I can go with and parts dot length equals 3. So if we're just going to go with that. That way, but in order to get into this if, to get inside of the if statement, I can guarantee that I've got a array that has been split into 3 parts. Let's see, int try parse parts sub 1 out x offset y offset, like that. And try parses do return bools, but in this case, I'm really just looking for a safe parse. And I'm the sender and the receiver, so the only way a try parse is going to fail in these cases is if I've made a coding mistake somewhere, which hopefully the tests are going to cover for us. Okay, so that'll do that. That'll do that. Okay, so this gives us a location, and then what we will do is location gets location offset x offset y offset. Boom. What is your problem? Oh, this mutates the point. Okay, cool. There's technically an upcast here from int to double buried in there. But we're talking about mouse coordinates on the screen. Half pixels don't exist. Okay, so that gets me to there, that gets me to there, that gets me to there. Okay, let's go back to our test. So I want to left click, and what I really want to do is specify like 1525, and then what I'd like to do is our coordinates get top menu item get coordinates. So I want to get where it's located. So that gives me back a, and let's get rid of the var. Let's make it obvious. Use explicit type. So that gives me a rect. This is obviously not going to compile right now. Left click, and then we're going to put this inside of on a wait. Just, it shouldn't, I don't think it's possible, but wait will give us a nice retry if we need it. Actually, it shouldn't be possible, so let's not do it in a retry. We're going to guarantee that this is here. So, I like to give a little fudge room, especially, I'm actually not 100% confident this is going to work on my screen. So, I was playing around with something the other day, and I'm pretty sure I broke these tests locally. So, if you're running an AMD Radeon, they have this, what do they call it? Virtual scaling, or virtual super resolution, which is cool, but I also think it causes problems with my tests. So we're going to see how this plays out. So it could be problematic. Could be problematic. Okay. So let's see. So if we have an offset, and actually let's do 15 and minus 5. So this is going to be 15 to the right, 5 up is what we expect. So coordinates, actually left click takes a position. So let's do position, bottom right. No, if we're going to go to the right and up, we should go bottom left. We're going to go to bottom left corner and then shift right and up a little bit. Okay. So that's the code we expect. And so the we have a get mouse cursor thingy already. Where is the get coordinates? Move cursor to. I'm glad that returns it, but I'd like. Oh, interesting. So, I've already solved this problem, and I've done it in a more elegant way. Okay, so we need to change up this test. This is why we write tests. So this is still fine. Oh, this thing returns point mouse position. Okay. That gives me. Okay. Let's see. Send click. This guy here. Inputs. Yeah, so I added it to move to element, and that's not what we want to get rid of this. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to open up GitKraken, and we're going to find those lines of code, and we are going to nuke them. So discard, actually we can discard the whole file. And then it's going to be on this side. This whole file can go too. We don't actually need to do anything fancy. What we need to do int actually let's go set x because I believe what we do is if offset can't be null, and just trying to decide how much I want to adjust this. I think that's fine. So here, let's do this. Stop being fancy. Let's not be fancy. Mouse input. So move relative. So what we want here is right, that's what we want. So int x offset int y offset. That's what we want. And but we're only going to add this in if x offset is not 0 or what. Okay, just going to point this out. So, oh, did it lose it? So if x offset. So I've typed if x off, and you can see IntelliCode has divined my intention. Oh, no, go back. If x off. The fact that it was able to figure out my intention and write the code for me, that's both awesome and creepy all at once. Okay, so if there's an offset pass that's not zeroed, we are going to do something about it. Okay. And then that will send a move relative. This will do all of the stuff. That should do the calculation. Everyone should be happy, and this should just work. We're going to go with int x offset is 0, y offset is 0. Close, but no cigar on that one, IntelliCode. We got so close. You want to do the next one for me? Thanks. Boom. So awesome when it works. Do you know what I'm going to write here, IntelliCode? Here's a hint. No, not with. X off. Okay, you get little points on that one. Int y offset 0. You bet you can figure that one out. It was exactly like the last one. No, why would I do x offset -1? No, bad. It tries. It tries its best. It really does. Okay, so that handles those. So right click, left click. All of those are put into play. That's fine. You should now be in a compile-y state. Great. So we want to, let's figure out expected position. Point expected. And then we're going to go with, let's see, coordinates bottom left plus, this is a point, new point, and I expect that to be 15 and -5. If I add those together, that should give me new vector. There we go. So if you add a point and a vector together, that should give me the point I expect. And then my assertion will be, I'm going to do an is true. And the math, the absolute value of my expected x minus my mouse position x should be less than or equal to 1. Right? Because these are going to come back as doubles. Yeah. So we're going to do that. And then same for the y. So basically, as long as I land within a pixel, because there's going to be rounding errors and DPI and all that stuff. If we get within 1 pixel, close enough. Close enough. Okay. So there's that. We done? Let's run the test. If it doesn't launch on my screen that I'm sharing here, I'm not 100% confident it's going to work because of the AMD stuff I've got going. We're good. We're good. Okay, test passes. Sweet. Okay, so there's all of that. So what is this class over here for then? Oh, this is used on, oh, that one's used on the other side. This is used on the server side. That's why it's internal. Got it. Got it. That makes more sense. Okay, so we want to come back over to master, create a new branch here. We're going to go fix and what number? 54. Fix number 54. We're going to come here. We'll just do a quick check. So we added a unit test, which is great. That's just a cleanup of a using, not a big deal. There's the actual fix, adding in the offsets. Real quick, we're just going to run the rest of the mouse tests just to make sure I didn't break anything else. It's probably prudent. I don't feel the urge to necessarily run all the tests. Let's see, what is this? So the right click failed to get the invocation. Let's see, why do I have menu item click? Let's run this by itself real quick. That's interesting. Though, again, I'm not 100% confident my AMD stuff isn't messing with this, so we're going to run the PR on it and let it validate. Adding offsets to click methods. Offsets to click method. Fixes pound 54. So in GitHub, if you do there's several magical phrases like resolves, fixes, fix. Any of those followed by a issue number will automatically link things together. Okay, so I should be able to do new pull request, create pull request, and I would love to see the auto. Come on, kick off the build. Why you know autocomplete? Flush and merge. I have no idea how to get the autocomplete stuff to work. I might have to play around with that. Let's get this stuff merged though. So this is good. Sure. What do I have left in that milestone? Delete my branch. Did we ever release a 1.0? I did. I should. I didn't. Should really not put that in the milestone then. Let's take this guy out. Clear this milestone. But I'd like to make a new one. You don't let me do it from here, do you? I gotta go over here. Let me in here. Let's close out the milestone. And then I already know we've made changes that are going to be at least a minor version rev. Do a new milestone here. Okay, so pull requests, and then we will put you into next milestone. What? No. That milestone, please. Pretty please. And then this one here should go into the same one. I'm still very disappointed that this thing doesn't show. Like, I want to. Maybe because the branch isn't protected? I'll have to look. I'm wondering if there's some other magical incantation I need to set up to get the autocomplete on. Because it says it's there. Autocomplete PR. Show me that. It's in the docs. About auto merge. Auto merge must be enabled for the repository. We have done that. After you enable auto merge for a pull request, someone who does not have write permission pushes new changes. Maintainment enabled auto merge for a pull request from a fork. Auto merges will be disabled after contributor pushes new changes to the pull request. Interesting. So that kind of makes sense, but does that mean I've accidentally turned it off? Once all required and review status checks have passed. So if I go here, we go here, branch protection rules. So we're just going to come in here. Require pull request before merging. Sure. Let's see here. Do you know, can a MAUI app run on Windows 7 and can provide Win API calls? Ooh, okay, so I'm going to be careful how I answer this because sort of. It depends on what you mean by Win API calls. So MAUI, they have set it up. So it's MAUI is effectively Xamarin Forms vNext. So in terms of what you can get access to, I believe MAUI has to target .NET 6 or higher. I don't think you can go back further than that. And I think as long as the OS supports it, and I'm being hesitant to say yes because let's see, Windows 7, .NET 6. So it does go back here. Now the other thing you may run into is so yes, MAUI apps can work and you can target a Windows head, which is going to be a WPF application. So you'll end up with a MAUI application with a Windows head, which will be .NET 6-Windows. Depending on what you mean by Win API calls, you may or may not have direct access to it. So something that they changed is you end up doing like feature checks for for example, if you wanted to call like one of the Windows 10 notification APIs that was only added in, say, Creators Update, you have to do a feature check to say, hey, am I at least at Creators Update or later before accessing that code? Otherwise, it'll throw. You may see the method there, and you can call the method, and that may be fine at compile time, but at runtime, it may blow up in your face if you're on an older OS that doesn't support it. So there is that to be aware of. If you're just talking Win API calls, like Win32 stuff, where you could like pinvoke and that kind of thing, yeah, have at it. It's no different in that regard than a WPF app in a lot of ways. So I will say MAUI is great and awesome. However, I don't know if I would recommend it for a desktop application unless there is a use case where you're trying to share a lot of code with a mobile application as well. So I don't know if I would lead with MAUI for a purely desktop application. I would go with something more like just straight WPF. That way that you don't have that extra abstraction layer in the middle. So again, the caveat being is it depends on if you intend to share code, specifically like UI code, between that desktop, the Windows 7 head of your MAUI app, and some other heads as well. Like maybe you're building a Mac app and you want, to share that code back and forth. Okay, great. That would be a viable use case. But if you're just building a Windows 7 app, I don't think I'd lead with MAUI. It just adds complexity and extra stuff under the hood. That is a lot of additional overhead. And if you aren't leveraging MAUI to share code, it's, I don't believe, worth it. Okay, so there's this. Great. Squash merge. Is there anything else in here? Expand position new members. This would be nice to do, but I'm also looking at the clock, realizing I've gone almost 45 minutes over, so I should probably stop. If we need to provide, so can we switch to MAUI or stay in WPF? So support of and I'm gonna again, I'll caveat this a little bit. I haven't tried MAUI specifically on Windows 7. However, I believe all it requires is .NET 6.0, and .NET 6 supports Windows 7, at least SP1, which I suspect you won't find any vanilla Windows 7 that's not on at least SP1, SP2. So you probably don't want to risk putting yourself into a situation where you're going to end up be switching between MAUI and pure WPF. So if you think that you are going to have a situation where you're going to be sharing code with that Windows 7 app and you want it to be in MAUI, that's perfectly fine. My comment was more around if the only platform you're targeting is Windows Desktop and you're not targeting anything else, I wouldn't go with MAUI, because MAUI's designed to be a write once and then share your code to a lot of different, they call it, I believe it's heads, if I'm not mistaken on the terminology. So you could have like a Mac head, an Android head, a Windows Desktop head, and you write your code once, and there's areas where you can write platform specific bits here and there where needed. But it's designed to give you a high amount of code sharing across those platforms and to try to make it as easy as possible. But by doing that, it adds abstractions that you then have to deal with that could be sometimes a little bit problematic. And oftentimes those abstractions are fraught with, well, how do you get this to work? How do you get that to work? So if you are building an app that's going to target multiple platforms, and by multiple platforms, I'm putting all Windows desktops into one bucket. If that's the case, then MAUI's fine. If you're only targeting Windows Desktop, I would probably tell you to stay on WPF. So yeah, to answer your question, if you target only Windows Desktop, I would stay on WPF, especially if Windows 7 is going to be in your support path. The other advantage of staying on WPF is you have a very rich ecosystem that has been built up. Let's see, WPF released in 2008, 2009. Windows Presentation Foundation. When did it release? It's been out 2006. I was off by a couple of years. So WPF has been out for a very long time. There's a very rich ecosystem. There's tons of theming libraries that have been built out. Lots of documentation, lots of samples. You won't come up short. MAUI is brand new. It's been out for a year. We think that MAUI gives us more performance and an async friendly platform. Interesting. I don't know if I would buy into either of those premises. So, and I'll explain my thing. So, async friendly, possibly. So, because WPF is so old, it was written against a version of .NET that was out at whatever version was out in 2006, probably like 2.0. It is fairly old, and so there's a lot of patterns in it that you kind of have to understand and work around. Oftentimes people will get bit with like async void event handlers because you have to write async void in order to get it to work. With that said, there are some good libraries. The Microsoft MVVM toolkit, and actually, regardless of whether you go with MAUI or WPF, I'll drop a link to this. regardless of whether you go with MAUI or WPF, if you do MVVM, I highly recommend you take a look at this library. It is awesome. If you're familiar with the Galasoft MVVM Lite, this is the spiritual successor to that, that has been brought forward and is incredibly performant. But I don't know if MAUI really gets you a more async friendly platform. More of its APIs are async, but with WPF, you can, so WPF has been updated to run on .NET 3.1 and newer. So it runs on 3.1, 3.2, 5.0, 6.0, the same as MAUI. So all of the C# APIs that are available to you on MAUI, the ones that aren't tied to MAUI specific, all of the things inside of .NET, all of those are the same in WPF versus MAUI. So everything in the base class library, all of that exists. So I don't know if I would necessarily say it's a more async friendly platform. The performance one is another one that interests me because oftentimes people's biggest critique of what used to be called Xamarin, which is, so MAUI is Xamarin Forms vNext. Typically with Xamarin Forms, people critiqued it largely on its performance because it has that abstraction layer in its UI, what used to be called custom renderers. That extra layer usually added overhead, not a lot, but it added. But you can't have an abstraction layer that's zero cost, and so I would be shocked if it was able to outperform WPF. At best, I think it could match its performance. And I'd be shocked if it could outperform it because it's got that extra abstraction layer. I think it'd be somewhere in the realm of slightly slower, but probably not any noticeable amount. And let's see, next question. We use Prism. Is that the same approach? Oh yeah. So Prism is another one. So Prism takes a slight. This is a much more lightweight NuGet package. Prism comes with all kinds of stuff in the box. Because when the MVVM pattern was put out, WPF came out and it was like, here's this great thing that can use the MVVM approach. We're going to give you no support for it in the box, which was a questionable decision to say the least. I don't know if they'd make that same call today, because there's no like view model. They just give you the iNotify property change thing in the box and say, have fun. But yeah, no, if you're using Prism, same type of thing. Prism is an MVVM package, but Prism also comes with lots of other stuff bundled in the box. So if you're familiar with Prism and its layout, by all means. So I don't use Prism a lot, but I've used it in the past. There's nothing necessarily bad about it. I just found that I didn't use a lot of its features, and I only needed simpler stuff. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. I just found that there was a lot more in the box than what I was actually needing or wanting. And so I went with something smaller and lighter weight, because I didn't use everything that was there. So, but if you're using it, you're familiar with it and like it, nothing negative to say on it. The developers who work on it are quite good as well. So I would be shocked if there was anything that bad on Prism. Cool. Hopefully that all makes sense. I will say I am a little biased towards WPF. If you end up going that route, shameless self-plug. If you're looking for a pretty theming library to make WPF look pretty, I would recommend the Material Design Library. This is one thing that MAUI does give you a little bit in the box, is they have their own material design bundled in. I'm trying to remember the name of it because it shipped with Xamarin Forms like V4. They call it. It wasn't Styles. Shoot, what did they call it? Xamarin Forms material. Working with material design. Oh, visuals. Material Visual. So so Xamarin added their own visuals to their built-in controls to support material design. So material design is something, it's a design language created by Google, and I think this probably links out to theirs. The interesting part, so Google, like 4 or 5 weeks ago, released Material Design version 3. And I don't think they have probably done much to update to Material Design v3 yet, despite the fact that this is linking out to it, because this is just linking out to material.io, which used to be the landing page for Material Design 2. And even my WPF library doesn't have a lot of Material Design 3 stuff in it yet. I will put the word yet on there because there is a Material Design 3 roadmap that you can find an old stream a few weeks ago where I kind of went through all of the stuff that's in Material Design 3 and built out a roadmap on what is going to need to change for this. So, and then shout out to Michael. He has been doing a ton of work on the library helping me out. And so huge props to him. So, but good questions, Justin Bieber. But I guess I'll end with this. If you feel more comfortable in MAUI than in WPF, then by all means feel free to go with it. I like WPF, but it seems old based on reflection. Some things must be public only. Some graphics objects, if there are lots, become laggish. Yeah, so that is one good point to mention. So WPF, specifically the binding engine, is based on reflection. So WPF uses XAML version 2006, whereas both MAUI and UWP and WinUI have all updated to be XAML 2009, specifically with XAML version 2009 with compiled binding. So it's the Xbind. Hey, Odad Nerd, thanks for dropping in. You caught me at the end though. I appreciate it. We've been having a bit of a discussion on MAUI versus WPF for people who are here. For people who may not be familiar with it. So, what is .NET MAUI? This is good. Once upon a time, Christmas Eve raid. Hey, I will take the Christmas Eve raid, and welcome everybody. I don't know if other people have experience here. Yeah. But .NET MAUI, or the MAUI, the multiple platform app UI. So I do question the MAUI because when you Google for it, you obviously land on things that happen to be an island. Probably the only WPF streamer. Yeah, I've heard that a couple times. Justin Bieber. If anybody is interested in catching a lot of the old ones, shameless self-plug for my YouTube channel as well. Yeah, no kidding on the naming things. But the question that came up is, if you're building a Windows desktop app, do you go with something like MAUI or do you go with something like WPF? And MAUI is actually built on WPF, so it gets a little weird of how to do it. So, and I haven't looked at the internals on how MAUI running on WPF on Windows 7 works, because I know you can turn on compiled bindings, which mitigates a lot of the reflection. This is .NET and not .NET. Well, so it's technically all .NET. So one of the interesting things that has happened since Microsoft open sourced C# and has gone open source crazy is you can run C# in a lot of places. So you can write your code in C#. Oh, this is .NET and not, oh yeah. It actually, so what is it? source. This is probably one of the most horrendous URLs to try to read off to people. Source period dot period net. I just love this one. If you're interested in ever browsing the source code for .net, because marketing or something. Well, yeah, if you get your Java numbers to too high, isn't that the point where the integer rolls over? Source .net, very easy. Yeah, exactly. Try to get somebody to type that into their browser. Especially with all the COVID work from home, being able to verbally communicate code to somebody is sometimes a luxury that naming people don't think. But yeah, and the other thing, so here's one other thing to consider. Windows 7 end of life. I believe Windows 7 drops out of support in April, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. No, Windows 7 dropped out of support in January of 2020. So that is something else. So Justin Bieber, I'll throw that out there as well. If you are, unless you're sold on supporting Windows 7, which I will say in my day job, I have to support clients that are still on Windows 7 because we've got projects that are used by like government and financial institutions, which upgrade with all the speed of a glacier, which is incredibly frustrating at times. But if you aren't tied to Windows 7 and you're familiar with WPF, WinUI 3 might be a worthwhile look. So WinUI 3 is the spiritual successor to what was UWP or Metro Apt, if you want to go really far back. Let's see. Latest stable build does something that stops it from working on Windows XP SP1. Oh, yes. I will admit, I did run XP long beyond its end of life date, and so I'm not exactly shocked. But engineers, for example, use AutoCAD, uses Windows 7 most, and Banks 2. Yeah. So like I said, if you have to support Windows 7, which hopefully most people are trying to upgrade, I hope, because if Microsoft doesn't support them, you can imagine usually people are starting to evaluate the cost of when the next large vulnerability gets found. If there's no updates, well, you just hosed. But if you are able to jump to newer Windows platforms, WinUI 3 is the, I will say, latest and greatest desktop framework. The problem being it is new. So it does not have that deep depth of support that you'll get out of like WPF, or at least with MAUI. You can fall back on a lot, because MAUI is Xamarin Forms vNext. You can kind of fall back on all the cool Xamarin stuff as well. But WinUI 3, or I should say WinUI and UWP in general, was started as an effort to take WPF and have something that felt similar, but fixed a lot of like the performance problems that usually plague WPF. Because as you mentioned, there are a lot of things that can really hit the performance of it a little bit, especially if you aren't careful. MAUI and WinUI 3 is different things. Yes, they are. So WinUI 3 is just a Windows desktop framework. MAUI is going to be your multi-platform app UI, and I don't think MAUI has a WinUI head. I believe it's WPF based. And I'd probably have to go back and look and see. That actually might be something worth considering. If MAUI does have a WinUI head, the problem is WinUI isn't going to go back to Windows 7. So that's going to be the kicker for you. If you have to support Windows 7, yeah. And I'll point out you missed Windows Forms as well in that list. They have a lot. And ironically, the older the framework, the more people that use it. Which sounds ridiculous. I'm trying to remember. Somebody at one point told me the numbers. Windows Forms, which we released, I think, 4 years before WPF, has, I think, 4 times the developer user base than WPF. Or was it 4 or 10? Several factors bigger than WPF. And then obviously things like UWP are several factors smaller than WPF. So like the newer you get, the less adoption there is, which is mind-blowing. Some of it comes from the fact that when Windows Forms first came out, it was the first reasonable framework. Yeah, and cost to upgrade stuff off the old ones is just too high. Completely agree. Yeah, and the other problem with a lot of those upgrades is you can't do them piecemeal. So with WPF into UWP, they tried to give a piecemeal upgrade because Microsoft understood that there wasn't enough people that were going to jump in head first. And so there was XAML Islands. So they gave this guy here, which let people keep their old WPF apps, but start embedding things from the newer like Windows 8, Windows 10 APIs. Because like when they added ink and pen support and all that kind of stuff, it's like, ooh, I'd really like to have that. Oh, WPF was written long before touchscreens were a thing. Obviously that's not supported, or at least not in the box. There's not like an inking type control in the box for it. But this XAML Islands kind of let you have that middle ground where it's like, well, if I'm running on the latest version of Windows that has the support, let me grab that newer control and bring it in. And if not, I'm going to have to degrade or do something nicely for my users or whatnot. So they tried to give that kind of piecemeal upgrade approach. It just, some people made really good use of it, but a lot of people didn't. So it really comes back to it's hard to upgrade. It's actually fairly easy on like WPF to upgrade to newer frameworks. So if you're on a WPF app that's like .NET Framework, and you want to get up to like .NET 5, .NET 6, that's actually a pretty easy jump, surprisingly. But that comes more around the fact that they made the ability to upgrade C# from old .NET Framework up to the newer stuff easy. That has nothing to do with WPF. The language team for C# did an amazing job at that, and WPF got to just kind of ride the coattails of that all the way up. So, for what it's worth. But again, the XAML Islands approach is a bridging mechanism. I wouldn't necessarily tell you to go into planning an app out using it as your primary UX. It's not where I would end up going. So MAUI is XAML based and run on Windows 7. WinUI 3 is UWP based and runs Windows 10 only, right? Yes. Yeah, that's fairly accurate. I believe you can. So the only reason I'm hesitating is because Win 10 is actually there's a bunch of versions bundled in there, and so I'm not actually confident it's all versions of Windows 10. But UWP and WinUI 3 both use the newer version of XAML. They both have a very similar structure layout. Oh, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it, Axel. But in both cases, WinUI 3 and UWP aren't going to support Windows 7. So that's going to be a kicker. That is going to be a fun one to solve as well. Yeah. And like I said, I'm fairly certain MAUI's Windows Desktop is WPF based. And I'm saying that because the Xamarin Forms one was WPF based. It's possible that they've upgraded it. Not 100% certain, but it would be it'd be fairly easy test to run through and do if you the default hello world when you go file new project on MAUI opens up a little .NET bot app with a little button that you just click and it does a counter. So, but yes, your description is very accurate. The other thing I will point out is even though all of those systems are all XAML based, there is a version of XAML that's at play here that matters. And I think I can show it off. Do I have a good example of it? Don't know if I actually have. This will work. User controls will show it. So when you're talking about version of XAML, you can start to look at this thing right here. So your XML namespaces, which is what XML-NS stands for, this guy right here, this is your older one. And like I said, I believe WinUI is 2009. Same with MAUI. Either 2009 or 2011. But both of those, rather than just having, say, data context binding, they will have something under the X namespace, which is called Xbind, which is a compile time binding, which is significantly more performant than the regular binding in WPF. Because the regular binding in WPF is definitely reflection based. Now, that said, it's performant reflection. So it's not like the binding code itself is poorly written by any means, but the system that it's built on does use reflection, and reflection is known to be slow for what that's worth. But it does do things like make sure it caches its delegates and that kind of thing. Means MAUI is based on reflection too. Well, MAUI, I believe, has Xbind support. So I believe you can get on, I can check this real quick. MAUI compiled bindings, because I know Xamarin Forms has compiled bindings, so I'm fairly and still not async friendly. I wouldn't say it's any more async friendly than any of the other ones. The fundamental thing with async stuff is whenever you're writing, see, there's the XAML compilation bits. This is specifically written for Xamarin Forms. I assume it will be the same thing for I wonder if this redirects. I'd probably have to spend a little time digging to know, but because Xamarin Forms had the compiled bindings, which were great, and there was a handful of situations where they compiled bindings, it's worth noting, have to be bindings that can be resolved at compile time in order for them to work. There are times where you want to use bindings that won't be known until runtime. So, for example, if you're pulling in types that are, and it's like, I'm going to load in a whole bunch of disparate types, who knows what's going to be there? Those types of bindings can't be compiled. So for a compiled binding to work, it has to be something that it's known, which is why it had like the X data type and whatnot on there as well. But in terms of like the async support, async in C#, one of my colleagues put it really well. Async and await were billed as great ways of writing asynchronous code that looks synchronous when you write it. Sort of like, actually, just like the tests we were looking at not that long ago, right? So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 callbacks in this code. But the async and await kind of wraps that up in a pretty bow and makes it nice to work with. The problem with the async await stuff in C# is it looks simple, but you kind of have to understand some of the internals in order to use it well. So you'll hear people online say all the time, async void bad, async void bad, async void bad, which is mostly true. You should not do async void, and the reason is because the callers of this async is not part of the return type. It's not part of the method signature at all, actually, despite the fact that it looks like it should be. Async is a compiler feature, and turning this on just tells the compiler, hey, we're going to generate callbacks inside of this method. We're going to do some state machine stuff. It's going to be fun. But it's not actually part of the method signature. As far as the caller is concerned, this is a void method. There's nothing for it to wait on callbacks. There's nothing. It's just, I invoke the void method, fire at will. Whereas something like task lets you await that kind of stuff, and away you go. The problem where people say async void is bad, the whole reason why async void exists is for top-level event handlers. Think of button click. That's the stereotypical example. When you click a button, if the thing the button does needs to call an async method, well, it needs to use the await keyword. In order to use the await keyword, the method needs to be decorated with the async keyword, and that whole thing propagates up and down. But the problem is the button handlers have to be void returning. So now we've run into a situation where we need async void, and that is the case for it. But you have to be very careful. Exceptions may throw in any place on app. Yes, and that's the other problem. When you do the nice async task, one of the things that the state machine that the compiler builds up for you, that's really great, is if an exception gets thrown, it handles making sure that exception gets appropriately wrapped and goes up the call stack following your kind of await chain. So it looks very synchronous code in the way the exception bubbles up. It handles all of that for you, which is great. The problem with async void, there's nowhere for it to bubble to. So if it goes up and it hits async void, that exception goes, I got nowhere to go. And one of two things will happen. One, your app just goes down, which is not good. That's bad, very bad. Because typically when it gets to that top, it'll go to the global exception handler. And depending on what framework/runtime you're in, there may not be a global exception handler, which is the immediate crash. And even if there is a global exception handler, at best, you log it and then you still crash. So if you do end up writing async void methods, consider what an exception should do, because it won't bubble up to the caller. Small asterisk on that. It won't bubble up to the caller after you've hit an await. If I did so, for example, we'll do this. So throw new exception. This will bubble to the caller. This will not. Actually, probably won't. Probably because this may execute this, even though this looks like asynchronous code, it can execute synchronously in very specific use cases. So that it gets, yeah, we can catch them inside of the method, but still, yeah, and that gets you then quickly get into the case where your button handlers start to look like, private void my button handler, right? And then you end up starting with, okay, try, and then catch, and then, do something useful, go error message, and do real work, right? You start to get into the situation where you start building up this kind of stuff all over the top of it, and it gets ugly fast. So I know you mentioned you were using Prism. I'm trying to remember. I think Prism calls their iCommand implementation delegate command, if I'm not mistaken. So, like I said, it's been a while since I've used it. I know Prism has an iCommand implementation. Oftentimes a cheater approach is to derive from the command implementation that they give you and kind of wrap some of this boilerplate up in a single command implementation, and then kind of hide away the fact that the top level thing is going to be async void. Yeah, async command. Oh, cool. They actually have an async command implementation. So they probably have an iCommand implementation that has an async void in it that shells out to an async execute method, I would imagine. I'd be curious if they have a... Now I have to look. I'm curious if they have any sort of exception handling, or if Prism GitHub. I'm curious if they have anything in there for it. So, forms, I guess. I kind of was expecting it's probably core. Commands. Hey, Magnus. Delegate command, but this isn't quite what I expected, because the I command interface only exposes observe property, observe can't execute, so it's going to be buried somewhere in one of these. Synchronous stuff, dealing with that. Doesn't look like they've got. And there might be something higher up here. Let's see if I can just hunt IAC command. Go. Oh. Delegate command. Passbait delegate command. Okay. So they still just shell it all the way through. Interesting. Okay. But regardless, it means that they don't necessarily have a... Maybe we took async command implementations from the other source. It's very possible, but so if you do have your own async command wrapping around it, that might be a reasonable place to kind of wrap up like that exception handling, boilerplate, and that kind of thing. Because it is one of those things that there's not a great solution. But that's not necessarily... I don't know if I've seen a great solution in any library. So, because the question will always then be, okay, you've caught the exception, now what? Should you have even caught it is actually a legitimate question. Cool. I said I was wrapping up and then I went another half hour, so that's fun. But good question. I love this. I love this discussion. So by all means, regardless of what I'm working on, I'm always happy to detour and do questions and discussions and whatnot. So let me know how the app goes and where you end up landing, Justin Bieber. I'll be curious to hear your feedback as far as where it lands. So I think there's potentially a lot to consider, but like I said, I don't necessarily dislike MAUI, aside from it does add a lot of complexity, and that abstraction layer it can be somewhat problematic. I was building a MAUI app last weekend, but I was only targeting Android with it, because if I'm going to write an Android app, I want to write it with XAML and C#, so why not? And in my case, I ended up running into something, it was just stupid simple, but on Android, on the version I was on, rotation, the center of rotation, so the anchor X and anchor Y properties for buttons was broken on Android. I was like, really? Really? Hyper specific to two properties, only on Android, only on the release I was on, and I wasn't able to grab a preview build that apparently had fixed it. But it's one of those, it's like, sometimes it was one of those I ended up spending, an hour and a half thinking the problem was with my code when it wasn't, all because it was difficult to debug with that extra abstraction layer in there. No other reason. Because it was quite frustrating when that same XAML in a MAUI app, I pointed it at a Windows app, ran it, and the rotation worked fine. Dang nabbit. Suck. The things that they did do very right, though, is they did make things like asset sharing and fonts and that kind of stuff, especially across platform, stupid simple in MAUI. They did do a really good job of that. And if you haven't looked at it, one front-end developer, it's interesting to communicate with knowledgeable people because there's no one else. Let's see, Xamarin platform. So if you haven't seen it, depending on what you're building. So I will say this, there are a lot of different approaches to building apps. Some companies are big and have designer teams that like hand you a design and say, it should look like this, make it so. Other times you don't have that. Xamarin Forms can sometimes struggle a little bit when you have designers trying to dictate very explicitly, it must look like this on this platform, it must look like this on that platform. Most places I've been at don't have designer teams that well. Specifically, if you are looking for something that is not necessarily overly customizable, but gives you kind of that built-in navigation-y type experience that most people are used to. So this is specifically tied at mobile, but you can use it on desktop as well. Quite often, like your root level page, there's kind of some common layouts. You've got the fly out from the side, you've got your tabs along the top, navigation, search, all of that kind of stuff. You can still, so this is labeled as Xamarin Form Shell, but you can use it in MAUI. I'm using it in my app. It gives you kind of that centralized location to do all of your navigation. Hey, I'm going to put this page in a flyout, and I don't want to think about what that needs to be in all the cases. Just build it for me, which is great because you don't get that out of the box in a lot of other ones. You do have to turn it on. So it's not terribly difficult. Rather than creating a regular page, you create a shell and set that as the starting page of your app. With Blazor means that Xamarin should be dead soon. So I'll say two things on that note with Blazor. So one, there's a general sentiment that I've heard from a lot of people that like WPF is dead, and I tend to disagree. Simply because one, WPF will not die as long as Visual Studio is built using it. There are large components of Visual Studio that are WPF. So Microsoft can't kill the thing that their flagship IDE is built in. So there's that. What has happened though is web apps have been slowly gaining more and more functionality that used to be the domain of desktop apps. So as web apps have gained more power, the need to write a desktop app has decreased. So I will say that there's definitely a bloating of web apps starting to eat up the space that used to be the domain of desktop apps. But I don't think it's specific to WPF or whatnot. Blazor is attempting to do that. However, so the company I'm at, we've built several Blazor apps. Blazor looks really good on paper. It is not quite as good as it is built on paper. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not horrible, and we have very large things built in it. So it's not necessarily bad, but it's not necessarily the easy take your XAML knowledge, now you're a web developer and everything works fine and WebAssembly is awesome, huzzah. So it is a cool idea, but it feels like one of those things that is early in its lifetime, and I don't think it's going to kill off a lot of stuff yet. There's plenty of other things that have also tried as well. Another popular one that people go with a lot is like React Native, because rather than going with the Blazor approach of we're going to take all of the people with this XAML knowledge and make them webby developers, React Native goes the other direction and says, I watched the Process Hacker on VS Studio and didn't find confirmation that it's built using WPF. So the main app itself isn't necessarily WPF, but I can show you some fun stuff here. For example, tools options, right? And if we grab this, so one of my favorite tools is Snoop. I can come in here. So without going too much into details, Snoop can only attach to WPF applications. Specifically because of what it goes after is it looks for the WPF presentation core DLL. But I can now dive into this control. For example, this checkbox, content, and I can say my cool checkbox. and I can start editing it. So, and so it's worth noting the Visual Studio itself, the app itself is not a WPF app. However, it has large WPF components, and Visual Studio is designed to be like this polyglot type application, because there's not like one Visual Studio team at Microsoft. There's a bunch of them. Like different teams own different sections of Visual Studio. it is big, massive. And so there is a lot of WPF stuff in it. Even though the starting process isn't necessarily WPF, they're still running WPF for different things, like all of the options pages. I don't think oh no, Test Explorer is still WPF too. So there's fun things in there. The other way you can validate if it is Process Explore or EXPLORER. Why do I not have Process Explorer installed? Hang on. Choco install Process Explorer. Go. Choco list. Show me Process Explorer. Process. Oh, it's proc exp. How silly of me. Choco install. Go. Bum. Because the other way you can validate if something's leveraging WPF is just look at what DLLs it loads. So we can prove it that way too. EXP go. So for those people who may not trust Snoop, we can go over here, and I can grab dev env. Where is dev env? Wow, those checkboxes look really funny on my screen. Zoom it, Process Explorer. I know Visual Studio is running. I see it. Where is it? Am I blind or stupid? Huh? Target that. Just not the only process is dev env. I realize it's not visible. Show it to me. Why is it not visible? Oh, because hang on. I launched it as admin and it's in a different user's process. Try this again. It's probably running in user space. Let's see. OBS dev env. So if we go here, bring this guy in, and we should be able to look at where is the loaded .NET assemblies. Oh, viewing app domain requires administrator. You suck. You suck. Run as admin. Let's see. So, are you gonna now fail to find it because I ran as admin, or are you still in my user space? There we are. There we are. Come on over. Come on over. Net assemblies. Okay, so we are looking for presentation core. So there's your WPF DLLs being loaded. So dev env still loads WPF DLLs. So it is still running WPF. It may not be a WPF app. I will say that. If you try to like decompile it, I'm pretty sure it's a native application of some kind. At least it's been natively compiled. Oh. Because it provided WPF. Yeah, so it's not a WPF app, but large swaths of it are written in WPF. So, for what it's worth. Put my Christmas squirrel back up. Okay, I think I'm fading fast. Thanks for coming and hanging out, Justin Bieber. I appreciate the discussion. It's been great. I try to stream every Thursday night, so feel free to come back. Like I said, I'd be definitely interested in hearing how your project goes and what you guys end up doing and what does direction you go. For people who are interested, oh, hang on. I can spell my own URL. Let's just confirm. There. For people who want to find my other stuff or keep track of me, there's all the places. You can find me on all of those things. So, cool. With that, I think I'm going to say good night. Merry Christmas. Wherever you are, I hope you are staying safe, staying warm. At least I'm Northern Hemisphere, so warm is a good thing right now. So, with that, I'll see everyone next time. Have a happy holiday.